YouTubers? I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning back into this weather presentation for February 22nd, 2020. As always, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell notifications. It does really help my channel out a lot, and please consider watching the whole video. Today, we're going to be doing my March 2020 outlook, like temperature, precipitation, and why March 2020 may be like March last year for the East Coast. And if you might remember, those few nor'easters, or even, or actually, I think it was 2 years before that, where we had those snowstorms. So hopefully it'll turn out like that. Hopefully some cold air can get in. So we're going to discuss it today. Okay, but before I get to all the models, I do want to get to my forecast. Alrighty, so let's get started with this outlook. And as you can see, judging by the blues on the map, that we have some below average, slightly below average temperatures, potentially across the upper Midwest, northern plains, even down to the southern plains, parts of the southeast, up to the mid-Atlantic. Okay, and in that darker blue, the central plains and the Tennessee Valley, that's where you can have the worst potentially cold air for March 2020, and kind of had a change in what we were expecting. But the northeast, central southern Florida, and basically the Rio Grande of Texas all the way up through Washington, we could see some warmer than average temperatures. As for precipitation, we do have slightly below average precipitation possible. And parts of Iowa should be in that white, maybe even the tan. Okay, but basically like the Great Lakes region, possibly some drier times, even drier times possibly for a place like Michigan and northern Ohio. But the northern plains down to the Tennessee Valley in the southeast, we could see some above average precipitation as well. So when you combine that cold that we have with potential snow that we or potential above average precipitation we're going to have, and I think that could lead to possibly some snowfall. Okay, here's the March 2020 overall outlook. Okay, I'm going to go from top to bottom on my list here, so basically going from west to east. Starting out here, warm and dry. Basically, that same area from the Rio Grande all the way up through Washington. I would maybe cut this part out for Texas. Like, that really shouldn't be in the red. But we can still see some warmer and drier times there. The gray areas, that light gray is those average conditions. That's the case for Central Florida, Southern Louisiana, Texas, all the way through New Mexico, the Four Corners, like literally like where the four states meet up. The Four Corners, that's included too. All the way to Nevada and Idaho, up the spine of the Rockies, and maybe the Idaho and Washington, Oregon borderline. Some rain and snow, maybe even some, average precipitation, some rain, some snow in the higher elevations for the northwest from Denver up through like Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Billings, Montana. We're gonna have some cold air plunges, that's for sure, and maybe some drier times possible, but definitely cold air, that is going to be for sure. Cool and wet on the Tennessee Valley across the southeast. Southern Florida might get into that thunderstorm pattern, because average temperatures for March are like in the 80s, especially in southern Florida, so maybe some thunderstorms might start to get their act together. And the northeast, it's going to be and down to the northern mid-Atlantic, I've extended it down there. Some temperature and precipitation swings, so some flip-flops, and sometimes warm and dry, maybe warm and wet, maybe cool and dry, maybe cool and wet. So it's all very dependent. It's going to be flip-flopping, but overall, March could look a little bit better for snow, possibly, than it did before. I'm going to analyze the jet stream pattern, okay, across the United States. This is North America. Okay, and I want you to notice this. So let's move that up here. And if you look, we do have a jet stream pattern. Okay, this is the first day of March, like at 8 o'clock in the morning. Notice how the jet stream is kind of going up into Alaska. Okay, I'll actually take off that last one there. But notice how the jet stream goes up into Alaska, and then it kind of dips across the east and the southeast. Kind of takes like a dip like that. That's what we're looking for, and that's what we're going to see potentially. Okay, so 192 hours away. All right, let's look at look, we're at 192 already. And, I mean, here it is. I mean, look at the cold air that we have coming down across the eastern United States, okay? And take a look at this swirl. Okay, this is kind of like your polar vortex. We got that, or it's some kind of storm. Okay, we got an area of spin up there, and if I change it to the jet stream map, that's where those pressure isobars are coming together up there too. So big low pressure, big polar vortex, and it's gonna basically just send the cold air down into the eastern United States. Okay, maybe finally having a cold plunge, and maybe even reaching the Gulf of Mexico could even see some cooler than average temperatures. Okay, if that's the case, because if you look, actually, I was planning to show you guys this later, but I guess I'll show it to you now. March could potentially, I mean, we have had some tropical development. It hasn't been much. Usually it gets started, late April, May is when we start to see it. But it's supposed to be June, but we always see, usually, we do kind of sort of see some preseason activity. Look at the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, look at the Caribbean. Those are two areas that are, like, above average sea surface temperatures. Now, I'm not saying don't worry about a tropical disturbance. I mean, this is for right now, but don't worry about a tropical disturbance in March. Okay, we still got excessive dry air that just hampers development. We have excessive, like, out of this world wind shear. Okay, but if you take a look off the coast of Africa, okay, I mean, we got some really above average sea surface temperatures, like 3+ degrees Celsius above average. Okay, the subtropics in the mid-Atlantic, or the northern Atlantic subtropics looks pretty good. Even the Pacific looks pretty good, but we're not really going to talk about that. So yes, all Cha-Ching areas. The only, not so good area is kind of just west of that MDR where we have some cooler waters. But if we get that jet stream to come down, okay, we just had a front pass by. But maybe send some cooler air, surface temperatures down into the, the coastline near the water. The water might actually cool down a little bit potentially. So that's something that, hopefully that could, hamper hurricane season to, from really starting too quick. Here is hour 192, and take a look at this at 8 o'clock in the morning on March the 1st. So this black line that I'm drawing, okay? So I just drew that out to best of my ability right there. Anywhere north of that black line, basically, your temperatures are below 32 degrees, so below freezing. And you can see how we have this kind of like vortex, that polar vortex. Okay, northern Greenland is just absolutely crazy. But if you notice how it makes like a U shape. This cold air is trying to get driven down into the northeast. And it kind of does so. We get sun going down the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, so definitely some cold air trying to filter in. I think it's trying to happen. Okay, now we're actually going to show you the CFS now because I wasn't going to spend too much time on that. This kind of goes like a lot farther out in time. So going through, let's say, like, let's give an example, March 9th. Well, technically, this is March 8th at 8 o'clock at night, but it's just, March 8th. And here's a jet stream, and it kind of goes down like this, kind of this time. So you kind of have some colder air coming down into the northwest. But yes, I mean, look at the east. It's kind of like what we've been seeing now, kind of like that the jet stream pattern coming across, and we just see those, potentially warm temperatures. Let's actually see. It is 72. And here's 372, and I mean, it's kind of right. There you go. There's your northwest seeing those cold temperatures, or at least below average temperatures. Same thing for the northern plains, actually, as well. Okay, if we go back to the CFS model, and you can see this is gonna continue. I mean, this is like towards the end of March now, and we kind of have, this is our big polar vortex. Actually, I really won't even put it as a low pressure yet. I would just put it like as a, let me put that back here. I'm going to put that as like a high, or just a area of rotation. Because this is where that, big piece of energy is, and it's going to drive down that cold air. I mean, the question is just how significant can it get? If you go to hour 696, right? 696, which is right. Oop, I missed it. Right there. I mean, you saw, all the cold air, but you kind of noticed it was all bottled up. So look at this. Now we got warmer than average temperatures across the United States, or at least the lower 48. And look at Alaska. They're just freezing our butts off over there. We're talking about, 30 degrees below average plus. So we still got time to watch this, but hopefully March will be the snow, loving month that we all have dreamed for. We do have a little dip in the jet stream there, but overall, it's just staying up in Canada. I mean, all the low pressure systems, notice how they're all just bottled up in Canada. None of them are really getting down to the east or in the lower 48. Okay, we get a big storm there. We got another one coming in, but I mean, things just aren't looking that significant. And this only goes out 10 days anyway, because this is the European model. Okay, and maybe something better, some better area, dip in the jet stream possibly. Because the first couple of days of March, I mean, I know the high temperature here in the mid-Atlantic is going to be like 37. Which, if you think about it, that's actually like only 10 degrees below average, something like that. So it's not that cold. I mean, that's kind of like what you should be seeing. Okay, and here's the European model. Let's go to March 1st. This is March 1st, excuse me. When you wake up, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, okay? And look at it, it's like the megalopolis, like Philadelphia, for example. Actually, can we get a zoom in sounding? There we go. Philadelphia is about 23 when you wake up on March the 1st. Okay, up in Maine, it's like below 0, actually. So this cold air is really, trying to dig down to the northeast because we're getting into the negatives. But even northern Florida, I can see some freeze warnings going out. Look at northern Florida, southern Georgia, southeastern Alabama, getting at or below freezing, actually. And that cold air is just radiating down into the east. But notice, though, we gotta have a warm flow coming out of the south because Texas is gonna wake up to 50s, and even southern Texas is gonna wake up into the 60s. So this March, okay, one thing if you don't know already, one thing that we is a factor in determining our weather is the North Atlantic oscillation. Okay, you're like, whoa, what is that? Well, basically, what you have here. Let me see if I can like draw a line because I think it'd be easier. Because if I hand draw it, it's gonna really suck. All right, so basically, right here, okay, is your there we go. So this is your 0 line. That is your even line. Basically, what happens is if you're up in this zone, okay, or just anywhere above that line. Can I put that back? Okay. But anyway, if you are above this line right here, okay, this is what's going to happen if you're above the line. Okay, let's go through now. Okay, we'll just ignore the line because I have to keep that there. But notice, okay, this is what happens when you're above the line and all the cold air is bottled up in Canada. You got high pressure over the tropics. Okay, and this is what we kind of been seeing. This is why winter hasn't been that good. We just had some mild air, and the jet stream cuts right across. Okay, and that could actually hamper tropical development because if we keep going like this, and the jet stream just cuts across, I mean, it's gonna, because the jet stream, especially if it's coming in the opposite direction, is really gonna screw around with those tropical systems. But what happens if you're below that line? And you can see it hasn't really happened much this season. Matter of fact, I've only seen it happen here twice or 3 times in this graph that I can see. A brief period back like in the end of October, like Halloween. Okay. Maybe towards the end of November and the very end of January. Other than that, I mean, this below the line is what favors that snow for the east and like this cold. And we only see it 3 times: Halloween, the end of November, and the end of January. Other than that, it's been at or above that line. Okay, and this is what happens when you're in that negative phase, when you're below the line. And this is what happens. I mean, we still have the cold air. It's not really bottled up anymore, essentially. The cold air is still up there and into places like, the Arctic, like way north of Greenland, like into the Arctic. But now it's getting, dropped down into Europe and into the lower 48. We have a high pressure part in Alaska, so I just driving, down that jet stream. We got the high pressure over here in by Greenland. That's pulling up the jet stream, putting it back down in Europe. So the whole world is connected. As a matter of fact, Hurricane Schwartz said not too long ago that there's been record warm surface temperatures in the Indian Ocean. Now I don't know and that actually connects to why Philly hasn't been seeing that much snow. Let me actually see it. Because I'm going to see if it feels about like just like the air temperature or the actual like the surface temperature. Let's see. That's the Atlantic. Here we go. Indian Ocean. And that's kind of what he was talking about here. I mean, look at the, I mean, look out in here. I mean, it's just been warm. The ocean's warm because the surface temperatures are so warm that the ocean has been so warm there too. So I mean, that actually connected to Philly and why they weren't seeing all that, much snow. Here's the Weather Channel's March outlook. So got cold air cutting down, okay, across the northern plains, getting down to the Tennessee Valley. Maybe from Montana, diagonal down to Florida. That's where you're seeing all the cold. You can't really see it by the camera, but the Northeast is slightly above average. Central Southern Florida is slightly above average temperatures, and warmer temperatures from the Rio Grande points west from there. The Four Corners, California, Oregon, Washington, all those places. Here's a climate prediction center, though, and here's the cold air from basically Rhode Island, Massachusetts, down to Texas, and some warm air for the Southwest and warm air for northern Alaska. Okay, so that's what the Climate Prediction Center said. And this is the March outlook updated 2 days ago. Here's our precipitation outlook. So we got some drier times for the Great Lakes, some wet times for the Southeast, some dry times for the West and a little tip of Alaska, and northern Alaska, possibly some wetter times. Other than that, it's equal chances for any kind of precipitation anywhere else. Here's a CFS model, okay, and notice across the Southeast and into the East how kind of the cold air holds. This is the end of March, or end of February into March. Kind of restrains back, gets some cold air back in the mid-March, and into March it's kind of warming up again from there. So that's your CFS model depiction of it again. Now here's this actual, I showed you the anomalies already, but look, I mean, we're into the mid-80s in some spots in the Caribbean already, the ocean water. Okay? And actually, I mean, this isn't a tropical discussion, but because it can happen in March, I just want to mention real quick that we do have some low to even some moderate oceanic tropical cyclone heat south of Cuba already. So it's already starting to build up, and this is kind of trouble. But like I said, we got excessive dry air. We have excessive wind shear. Okay, so no tropical development concerns for this moment, but okay, it's still something that we should all be concerned about for the time being. So, as for today's video, thank you guys for watching. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time.